Former gifted children, what are you doing now? After getting a bachelor's of science in physics and math, I broke my parents' hearts by telling them I didn't want a career in academia. Instead, I wanted to be on the radio. Now, I'm a mediocre midday guy on a small market station, and known to all as the guy who gave up rocket science for this. Went from high expectations to top of my undergrad class to medical school. Now, I am a med school dropout about to quit my job because I am a complete mental mess. It seems like no matter what I do, I've let everyone down because I left med school. I hate disappointing people. I had really good grades, high SAT score, Ivy League education, not rich, shit childhood. School just wasn't challenging for me. I'm in my 30s now and I make, rent and operate arcade games. I spent way too long figuring out that just because I'm good at something doesn't mean I should do it. I'd easily get sucked into dead-end jobs because I would pretty quickly become critical to the functioning of that business. I'd get taken advantage of because I'm just not programmed to half-ass something. I learned a long time ago to not work for other people, so I've been mostly self-employed for the last 10 years or so. Now I spend my days at my shop making and restoring games, and going to my locations to pick up quarters and fix machines. I love it. Graduated from good colleges and eventually got a PhD, but as I assimilate myself into society, I realize that intellectual gift is just a fraction of what will make you successful. Luck, personal network, and even family all play a huge role. However, that success is very subjective, as I struggled with trying to live up to the expectations that everyone else had. Nowadays for me success is being a good father, friendly co-worker, make sure I work diligently, and be kind and helpful to others. Most importantly, be happy. I was praised for intelligence my whole life. Gifted, AP, honors all through high school. Between taking community college courses over the summer while still in high school and my high AP scores, I entered college as a sophomore. The second things got hard, I dropped out. I never had to work at anything academic in my life. I drifted from admin job to job waiting for people to see my brilliance as they had when I was a golden child in high school and dropped better jobs in my lap. Took me until my 30s to realize that isn't going to happen. Trained as a yoga teacher because I hated being treated like the lowest on the totem pole in the office. Found out you can't make much of a living as a yoga teacher. Got another admin job, but this time I'm also working as a yoga teacher, and I've gone back to school to get my qualifications to be an accountant at the place I work. So, not bad, but certainly my parents don't think I lived up to my potential. I regret that label. Not only did it make me an arrogant know-it-all when I was younger, it was a shock to learn as an adult I'm above average, at best. Now it's hard to try new skills things and really work at something, because of a deep fear of failure and lack of discipline. Edit. Thanks for my first ever Reddit silver for bearing my deep-seated insecurities. I appreciate the encouraging comments and I hope you all can find peace with your identity and your place in the world. In my 30s, doing so, mediocre career, unsatisfying relationships. Most of my gifted friends about the same. A handful became very successful. Some are permanent students with collections of letters, but several more are messed up or dead. Why do you think only a handful became successful? How do you become a permanent student? Who pays the fees? I guess most of us were too misfit from society to put a sincere effort into the rat race. Maybe that was always going to be the case, but I think the separate streaming at school didn't do us any favors. When you're a student for long enough, your studies are all paid for by scholarships and bursaries and fellowships and grants, and you do a lot of paperwork for your department and get an allowance to live off ramen. Graduated from an Ivy League school a couple of years ago. Graduated with a B average. Became a consultant, and broke 6 figures a year and a half into the job. So, things worked out well for me, but being at an Ivy League school makes you feel really average when competing with rich kids who went to private school and had tutors. The primary advantage I received from the GT program was SAT tutoring, probably bumped my score from a 1600 to a 2300. That and the summer extracurricular courses. Those really help on your college applications. I'm basically a stay-at-home mom to a pile of kids. I do own a business though. I just kind of manage it, but the employees run it themselves. I pay myself enough money to pay rent. A lot of the employees, all female staff, are the breadwinners and some are single moms and things like that, so I would say it's pretty successful given how little time I spend actually working. My husband didn't really speak English through school, but now he makes heaps of money at a big corporation. We're pretty successful and happy. I don't know if being in the gifted program meant anything though. If anything, it made me lazy and just kind of ride off the fact that people thought I was smart. My brother was gifted and I was a bit thick. We're both mid-30s now. He was in Mensa, club for high from about 7. I had extra spelling lessons. He did exceptionally well at school UK, so up to age 16. I really struggled. He stayed on for 6th form and coasted through that. I went to a separate college and found it wasn't all about spelling and memory, and did better than I thought. He went to uni and struggled, socially and academically, but got a 2-1 with honors. I went to uni, struggled with some things, but did better than I thought. Also got a 2-1. Loved it socially. He struggled to find himself in the workplace, and has struggled to find his place socially. Pretty crippling depression, anxiety and debt. Not all that happy. He lives alone with his dog, and would love for a partner family, but is well under the dark cloud of depression, and unfortunately I can't see it happening anytime soon for him. I entered my chosen career, got promoted. Unfortunately I got sick but could afford to work part-time. Bought a house, live with my partner of 10+ years, have a baby and a dog. It's not perfect, but overall I'm pretty happy. I used to hate everyone saying, "Oh, you're not at all like your brother." In truth, we're pretty similar, although he is better at spelling. But I think being told you're gifted is often a hurdle to overcome. Unemployed, not in school, living with my parents, struggling to even get my driver's license because of severe anxiety. I burned out hard in high school, took a gap year to sort out my issues before throwing myself to the wolves of independent living, and never really recovered from the burnout or closed the gap. My depression went from awful to monstrous as I watched all my classmates move on without me, and have amazing lives while I just sort of drift along, which leaves me without the energy to improve myself and join them, and becomes this horrible cycle that feeds into itself endlessly. Mom showed me a video last night of 2 of my classmates getting engaged, and told me all about how wonderful they're doing. I'm genuinely happy for them, and I know she meant no harm by it, but I've been extremely down all day thinking about it. I know I'm very young and have plenty of time and resources to catch up, but I already feel like a total failure who's deeply disappointed everyone who was rooting for me. I was supposed to have been so much more by now. It's hard not to think like that when you spent your whole life being told you were going to put your brain to good use and do amazing things. You're okay, you just have a different way. Joined a special program in the military for really smart people. Dropped out for unknown reasons. Now I feel like every cool thing I could do before is gone. Now I just have all the social awkward and other negatives that generally come with people who are gifted, but none of the positives. I was crazy good with math and sciences. I could do some really crazy levels of math in my head no problem. Now I need a calculator for simple crap. I used to be able to remember every minute detail of a class, to the point tests were essentially open book since I could perfectly recall the class day a particular question was covered. I could recall the conversations people had. I could remember the whole page in the book that had the answer to the question. Now I barely remember the names of people I work with every day. The program required smart people, but it wasn't the type of intelligence that I had, and required a lot of pure memorization and doing things in a very precise step-by-step manner. After years of poor nutrition, my assumption, and serious sleep deprivation, I have come to the conclusion that I probably stressed my brain into actual damage or trauma. I used to be extremely creative and very social. Now my creativity is sporadic at best and social situations are rough. Spent time as a gifted student and had a choice between being a scientist and a lawyer. So naturally, I chose to play minor league baseball instead. When my career ended, I put my brain to good use, opened a business, became very successful and made a lot of money, but hated every minute of it. It turned out that money did not buy me happiness. One day, the church calls and asks if I can fill in as a teacher until they find someone. I figure, why not? After a week I sold my company and decided to go back to school to become a full-time teacher. I totally fell in love with it. been doing it ever since and couldn't be happier. For Halloween I went as a former gifted child. When people asked me what I was supposed to be, I looked into the distance and said I was supposed to be so many things. You made it to the end. You are ducking amazing. If you like my videos, support the channel by smashing the like and subscribe button. Thank you.